Welcome to the Leverage Podcast. I'm your host, John Davidson, and every week I'm sitting down with founders and top performers who have found that lever. The hire, the system, that mindset shift that changed everything. This show is for the business owner who's ready to stop being the bottleneck and start being the architect. Let's get into it. All right, welcome to another episode of the Leverage Podcast. I am your host, John Davidson, and I'm pleased to be joined by the savvy granddaughter, Megan Anderson. She has an incredible real estate business and a really cool focus, also serving her community, and it's really cool how that blends into her real estate business. We're going to learn all about it. Megan, thank you for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So you're based up in the Pacific Northwest. Tell me what makes the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon, a great place to live?
I mean, honestly, a lot of people move here for the plentiful lakes and rivers and trees and mountains.
Yeah, there's a lot of outdoorsiness, a lot of Subarus driving around.
Yeah.
Yeah, my brother actually lives up in Portland, and so we go visit him. Boy, the summer in Oregon.
Yeah, it's great.
It's hard to beat. It can be a little rainy the rest of the year, but if you now, do the locals use an umbrella, or are you just trudging through?
No, you don't.
Yeah. So if you see someone with an umbrella, they're visiting from
Yes,
somewhere
100%.
Fantastic. Well, share with me about your real estate business. I'm really excited to get into this with you. Take me back to 10 years ago. Where were you in life, and what was that mindset shift that really convinced you to take a step forward and get into real estate?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, I would be pregnant with my second son, or I had just given birth to him. I was a stay-at-home mom, and we were my husband worked. We'd started investing in real estate we bought our first homes when we were 21 and 23.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
I was working before I got into real estate, I was working at a bank, and somebody had walked in, was trying to sell them a business credit card. And at the same time, he asked me, well, do you own a home? I'm like, oh no, I'm only 21. That changed 30 days later or less.
Wow.
I was a homeowner. Yeah. We quickly realized how great real estate is to build wealth. And so we started buying more houses. We would do we would buy it, we would rehab it, and then we would rent it out and repeat. And we used the same agent every time. And she was like, you really need to just do this. My husband kept saying that too, but we had young kids. So I waited until our youngest started kindergarten and got into real estate in 2021.
And then take me through that first step. Was it what you thought it was going to be, having been on the outside and just doing this investment, or were there some surprises? What was that like, actually working in the business rather than being on the outside and kind of being associated?
Yeah, well, I realized there was a lot more paperwork involved that I didn't know about. I mean, the start was very seamless. I'll say starting during COVID was interesting. Most of training or anything like that was done via Zoom. There was really no in-person stuff. But otherwise it came really naturally and really quickly because I'd already been through the process many, many times, and had a track record, to show that I had done it. So it actually came really easily and very quickly, and was enjoyable.
That's awesome. Well, it's always great when we actually enjoy the work that we're doing all day, every day. Well, I know one group of people that you have a great passion for are senior citizens. Take me through your focus with senior citizens with real estate, and also the serving that you do in your community.
Yeah. So I realized as I was growing very quickly, I realized that my grandma had a stroke and I went to visit her. We realized she couldn't come home after her stroke. So I had to help my grandpa, decide where she can go and
Yeah.
what help is out there for her. And it was really difficult. I was the closest one to her. So I was driving 4 hours twice a week to go relieve my grandpa. And Googling YouTube, there was really no information out there for someone trying to help someone through, a situation like this.
Yeah.
And I made a lot of mistakes along the way. There's just like for real estate, there's a lot of lead generation systems out there that prey on seniors. And yeah, I just made a lot of mistakes along the way and trying to figure how I can help. And I realized that after my grandma did eventually pass, but through that experience, I realized that I wanted to help and I wanted to be that person for people going through those situations. And so, third quarter of last year, I decided to rebrand as the Savvy Granddaughter, and it's been incredible.
That's awesome. So, I have parents who are in their mid 70s, and so this is relevant to me because we're dealing with, how to use a cell phone or a smartphone, I should say. Transitions of life. My parents were in an elderly folks home. I don't know the proper terminology there, so you can help me with that.
Yeah.
But and then they just were like, no, we're not this old yet. And so they went back and they purchased a regular home for a while. And so we're kind of looking at like, okay, looking ahead in life, what are these options? Share with me when somebody how are you helping senior citizens specifically from the real estate approach? Are they coming from bigger homes and downsizing? Are they, one spouse in a elderly care facility? Or, share with me how you're helping these folks specifically with real estate.
Yeah. So it's even the part of helping them in real estate, I try to get in there before we're even talking about real estate. So planning is a huge portion of making that transition smooth. And so I try to get in before we go over what they want, what needs to happen first for them to make that decision. So just like your parents, they thought they wanted that, and then they realized quickly, like maybe that's not a good fit for them and they could still live on their own.
Right.
So we talk through what their lives look like on a daily basis and what they want them to look like when they get to that point. And then we put a plan in place. From, who do they want? Are they going to move in with family? Are they going to sell the family home and they're going to move in, to a 2-bedroom in a 55 plus community, like an active living community? Or maybe the first time they fall, that's a sign that we're going to move into, a 55 plus, like independent living community. Or if they start having cognitive issues, maybe it's time for us to move into assisted living and maybe memory care eventually down the road. So we put those plans in place. I want to be the person that helps them decide who's going to help them move, who's going to help them decide which community to move into when that time comes. Even so much as we started doing a surrender intake form too, to basically for their pets. So a lot of the times when someone passes away, there's a pet. I've got one that I'm currently trying to rehome right now. Both his fur parents passed away, and now the daughter has a dog that she doesn't really want. So we do an intake form of essentially like as if you were going to go surrender your pet to the Humane Society. What information should we know about your pet? Anyway, so we package all of this together. Obviously listing me as the realtor. So they can basically hand this plan or have it in their safe, and they hand this plan to their kids when the time comes. And then the kids don't have to, guess and make all the mistakes that I made trying to help my grandparents. So we make a plan. Anyway, and then eventually the homes get sold. So I basically just try to provide as much value as I can and making this a smooth transition. And then when the time comes, I'll be there to sell the home and basically orchestrate all the pieces.
Yeah, I just think that's so cool how involved you are with that whole process because it's such a hard process to go through as well. There's a lot of times you have family members who are not local, right? And so you're visiting and you're helping as much as you can, and then I got to get back to work. Um, at times you've got a home that is, been the family forever, and so there's probably some bittersweet moments in the next chapter, and how exactly what are the right and wrong things to do in this situation? No one has ever been in this situation before, right? It's not like, I mean, it's the parents' first time figuring it out. It's the kids, adult kids' first time figuring out what to do with their parents. I'm curious, what are some of the most common mistakes that you're seeing when people are making this transition of life, and how can people avoid those?
Yeah, I guess the biggest one would be not calling somebody like me sooner. Um, a lot of the times people they get burnt out. So like, let's say the parents are still alive. Maybe their mom is, had to move into, or she's in, I don't want to say hospice quite yet, but maybe she's in a rehab facility after falling or after having a stroke. Uh, the family should be focused on their parent. They should be focused on being the child and
Yeah.
spending as much time as they can with them, not trying to decide what to do with the 40 years of junk in their house, or the dog that their parent just had to have, or that kept them company for so long. Um, they should be able to be with their parent and not having to worry about all that.
That's
I would
really
say
great.
that's the biggest thing that I see, is not calling somebody like me soon enough so that I can relieve take that stuff off their plate.
Yeah, because not only are you an expert in this and you kind of know the stuff and can get it done much more efficiently than someone doing it for the first time, but also just that person's focus, right? And being able to spend that time with the parent when you don't know how much time you might have left. And it probably relieves a lot of stress just from a relationship standpoint when you can just focus on, hey, let's spend time and I've got this fantastic person over here who really knows what she's doing and can help us take this next step. Um, Tell me a little bit more about your community involvement and the way that you serve, because I think it's really cool that you're helping the elderly in all sorts of great ways. But with your service, I mean, sure, it has nothing really to do with real estate. You're really just serving these individuals in impactful ways. So share a little bit about how you're doing that.
Yeah. So I wanted to figure out a way to make my business more predictable. And one of the ways was getting in front of the seniors and basically providing so much value that I'm the first person they think about if they need to do anything with their house, whether it needs, a new roof or a handyman. Um, Even if it's nothing real estate related, I just wanted to be their resource and their go-to person for everything. And so I started putting my feelers out, trying to find where are the seniors hanging out. Well, I heard of a luncheon that was happening in my town. 200 seniors get together once a month on the second Monday of every month, and they have lunch. And so I looked into the organization that was putting on the lunch, and it was a nonprofit. So I reached out to the nonprofit and like, I want to get involved. How can I be involved? And that it escalated very quickly and ended up with me on the board, building them a website so that they could be more established and get more grants.
Yeah.
It ended up with me, we added an activity called a smartphone basics class. And so on the fourth Monday of every month, I teach from 11 to 1. We have usually between 40 to 50 seniors that will show up. It grew so quickly that we ended up partnering with the Battleground School District. They bus over 40 to 50 students from the
Oh,
high
how cool.
school to help us. So we have seniors volunteering with seniors. So
That's really cool.
it's really magical to watch, honestly, like very rewarding. Which summer makes that a little bit hard. So then I drag my 14-year-old son and my tenant kids come. We get some of their friends to come,
That's
and I
awesome.
order pizza and they just sit with the seniors. We do things like pair their hearing aids to their phones, pair their
Mm-hmm.
phones to their cars, teach them how to, text and voice chat or FaceTime. It's really awesome. And then also I ended up getting connected. There was a position open for the Clark County Commission on Aging, where we basically influence policy to help people age in our area, and connect them with resources. And I became an appointed member for that too.
That's really incredible. I would imagine you might have a story or two about the seniors, serving seniors experience. I think that's so cool because, young people who grow up with technology, like, it's like a fish doesn't know it's wet, like teenagers don't realize how gifted they are with technology. And on the other side, you have people who lived a whole lifetime kind of without that stuff and trying to figure that out. Share some of your favorite experiences and memories from seniors and seniors together.
Well, honestly, the questions can sometimes be so basic as, my daughter got me this phone and I only know that when, the two green button or a red button pop up, that someone's trying to call me. I mean, the knowledge there is so basic that that's funny all in itself.
Yeah.
But there was one recently where he had an Android, which there's always more kids that know how to use Apple products than they do in the Androids. I've noticed that. And a lot of seniors have Androids because they're less expensive up front.
Right. That makes
I
sense.
personally believe that they should all have Apple products. They're so much safer than the Androids. But he loved playing solitaire. That's his favorite thing to do on his phone. But the only versions for a free version of solitaire has the ads and the pop-ups and the side quests and all those little things. And he comes back every week or every month to the class for a new solitaire game, and we help him download it.
How funny.
There was also a couple funny ones where there's a woman that would come back because every time her son came to visit her, he would remove Facebook off of her phone, so she couldn't comment filterless things on his Facebook.
That's incredible. Now, and then is she downloading it after he leaves?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
That's amazing. There's some amazing dynamics there.
Yeah.
And then what size of a group are we talking about? How many seniors are you getting from the high school version, and how many seniors of near the late in life are there?
It started as this fairly small group, like around 12 seniors, and then the local newspaper got word of it, and so they did an article on it. And the very next class, we had 40 plus seniors. So that's when we realized, okay, this is growing really quickly. We need to get some reinforcements in. And so we had a connection with the superintendent at the local high school. And so they alternate between the two high schools. And they send about 40 students usually.
Wow.
They bus them over. Unfortunately, because the recent levy didn't pass, we now are going to start paying for the bus service to bring them over so that we can continue to do this. Because connecting those two generations it really is pretty great.
That's awesome. Now, is this happening during school hours with her busing them over? And then are these seniors getting some sort of credit, or is it like a class? Or
I think I think for the seniors, they have some program where they do community service, amount of hours before graduation.
That's really cool. And one more question on that. Sorry, I think this is such a cool situation. What is some of the feedback that you're receiving from the high school seniors after the first time they do this?
Well, one, they said it's very rewarding. We give them these little thank you for volunteering books. And it keeps them coming back. I also think that getting out of school for an hour to come, seniors are filterless, and sometimes the things that they say is hilarious. And I think that because there's no filter, And so I think the seniors also really enjoy that. The students really enjoy that portion of it. There's lots of laughter. It's really fun to watch.
That's wonderful. If I could add one recommendation, I would say, maybe this is happening already, but if not, maybe like a slang class, you know? So
Yeah,
like the high school seniors can share
yeah.
with, can teach the elderly like the current slang, and then you have people visiting uh the old folks home, and you have all these old people like no
Using the
cap.
slang. I would make
Yeah.
some pretty good content, honestly.
Yeah, we'll see if we can work that into the program. Well, Megan, I really commend you for finding such a incredible way to be front of mind with your clientele. You know, everybody wants to be front of mind and have awareness, right? But you're not hanging you're not doing door hangers, or you're not doing cold calls and stuff. You've really figured out a way to be top of mind, but providing so much good for this community. So it's really inspiring, and our watchers and our viewers, I would really encourage you to find a way to serve that can benefit your business as well. I do want to get into some of your learnings throughout your career, but before we do that, let's listen to a message from our sponsor, Sphere Rocket.
Business owners and entrepreneurs will place a proven executive assistant VA for just $4 to $8 an hour, and if they don't perform, you don't pay. Imagine freeing up 20 plus hours a week by someone handling your most time consuming tasks like admin work, managing emails, scheduling meetings, and so much more. This one hire could transform your productivity and give you back the time you need to focus on growing your business. At Sphere Rocket VA, we make this possible in as little as 7 days. We'll place a proven executive assistant VA in your business for just $4 to $8 an hour, and your VA will take over day-to-day administrative tasks, help manage your email and calendar, follow up with past clients, giving you back 20 plus hours a week so you can increase your sales and even enjoy more personal time. And here's the best part: if they don't give you back 20 plus hours a week in the first month, you don't pay Sphere Rocket a dime. We've done this for thousands of business owners, and now it's your turn to see the results. Click the link around this video to schedule a demo and discover how this one hire can completely change how you run your business. Remember, if within 45 days the VA doesn't perform, you don't pay.
All right, we are here with Megan Anderson, and she is sharing all the ways that she is serving the elderly in her community, which also pairs perfectly with her real estate business, where she's helping senior citizens make decisions on what's next in life, where they should be moving, what they should be doing with their stuff, as well as their animals, and freeing up their children really to spend those precious moments with their parents. Megan, I want to learn a little bit more from you based on your experience. And so take me back to day one of stepping into real estate. If you were to speak with your former self, what's a valuable piece of advice that you would give yourself 10 years ago?
I would tell myself to not be scared to double down on my niche with the seniors. If I had done that sooner, I think that my business would be in a different place than it is today, where it's just really ramping up and building a pipeline of these seniors who may not be ready right now, but inevitably they will be ready at some point.
Yeah.
So if I would have put these systems in place early on, it would have been crazy. It already was crazy, but it would have been more crazy.
Yeah, that's such a common mistake that folks make. I owned a business for myself years ago, and you're thinking, I don't want to miss out on any customers, right? And so I could do this, I could do this. And boy, a home, you could sell anybody a home, right? I mean, everybody needs to buy or sell a home. What was it? What was the experience that made that lesson evident to you to the point where you decided to really step into that niche?
Well, it really, after my grandma had passed and I'd been through all of that with them, I had a couple other senior clients where somebody had referred me their parent, or in this case, it was their grandparent. And I had to do everything that I had just helped my grandparents do. And so that was really the pivotal moment. I remembered one of the houses that I had bought before I was licensed. There was a senior citizen couple living there, and we ended up having to pay for movers to help them move because after closing, they didn't move out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And the husband, he had some issues with dementia and would still come back to the house after,
Oh, wow.
after we had, yeah. So we became close with their kids because we'd have to call him every time. He would get a little combative with my husband. He would just help himself into the shop and would tinker around with my husband's tools. And so we would just let him be and call his kids and they'd come pick him up. But it was that moment where I realized that there's so many other people who are going through what I just went through. And if I really just doubled down and served them at a super high level, I'm able to say no to other business that's not bringing me joy. But two, I can make such a big impact while I'm doing it.
Yeah, I love when people go through something, especially when it's something that's challenging. And then through that experience, they're able to help other people who are going through, because now you are uniquely suited to help people go through something that they've never gone through before. That's really cool. What a lot of top performers on this show talk about is making that transition from working in the business to on the business, right? And so a lot of people get stuck in operator mode, and it's difficult to take that leap or even understand the need to really take that leap. Help me understand, how are you able to recognize that and then make that change in your business to work on the business rather than just in the business?
Yeah, I think I hit a time where I started to plateau a little bit. I've still grown every year in production, but I hit what I felt like was maybe as far as I was going to go. And my bookkeeper of all the people he recommended coaching when he looked at my P&L, and he's like, you're to a point where you're not really spending money to make money. Where I've seen people really grow is when I see more money being spent in coaching and education. And so I hired a mastery coach with Keller Williams, and that was a big differentiator. She really tried to focus on growing from where I'm at now, which was, a productive business. So at that point, that was about 2 years ago. But the rebranding, where I was finding that I was getting a lot of joy in helping seniors, and I wanted to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
So it was about third quarter of last year that I really just focused on a brand and who I wanted to serve and how I wanted to serve, and I just made sure that I brought as much value as possible.
Yeah.
That was big.
I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's just about every successful person I've talked to on this show has a coach. And of course, in sports, coaching makes sense. You always say, well, if Michael Jordan needed a coach, I might need a coach. But not everybody, especially as they're getting started, makes that leap into hiring a business coach. For those listening who have not yet made that decision, what advice would you give folks as they're considering, should I work with a coach or should I not?
I'm honestly, just invest in yourself. It's not. I remember trying to convince my husband I needed to spend $1,500 a month on coaching. It wasn't an easy. Yeah, I mean, he just, he hadn't seen it. It's not super common in his line of work. And so, I convinced him to do it, or that I should do it. I noticed I'd go to those national Keller Williams events, and one thing everybody had in common that was a speaker on the stage is that they had a MAPS coach. And so I figured, there must be something in that. And so I just jumped, and it's been great.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I like to compare it to like somebody taking a test before you've taken it. I remember when I was in high school, you have different classes at different times, and my buddy would have math before I had it, and so, sometimes we would share a little bit of knowledge pre-test and be like, hey, are there any division questions, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a great message for the audience that, just,
Coaching works.
this is someone who's done it before. And so, they've seen the things that you can't see yet. They've experienced the things that you, and so I've benefited quite a bit from having an executive coach in the past as well. So 100% recommend that. Second to last question here for you, Megan. You have such an incredible mission and you're really affecting a lot of people's lives in a positive way. What do you want people to remember about what you're building and the impact that you're making?
I just want them, yeah, that's a powerful question. I want them to remember that I serve with heart, and I make that the focus of everything that I do, whether that's the cell phone class or I'm going to go up tomorrow and help some senior clients that just moved into, they were downsizing from a 2-story house and they cannot figure out how to use the hot water heater. Everything, it was a new build. So everything is electric and has a little screen, like setting the temperature has a little screen on the hot water heater and they can't figure it out. So I'm going to go, and pull up a guide and work through it with them. So I want them to know, like, I'm not just here to sell houses. I'm here from start to finish.
I love that. Well, for those listening who are saying, boy, I could sure use some of this help. I'm in this season of life and I'm trying to figure out what's next. And they're up in the Pacific Northwest where you are. Megan, how can people get a hold of you in the ways that you'd like them to?
Yeah, just the savvygranddaughter.com.
thesavvygranddaughter.com. And can you please spell that for us so we know exactly how to spell savvy correctly?
Yeah, SAVVYGRANDAUGHTER.com.
You passed the test.
Okay.
Megan, I so appreciate you joining me today. We talked to a lot of incredible real estate agents here on this show, but your niche is so unique, and the impact that you're having both with young people, the seniors in the high schools, and also the seniors in the twilight of their lives. It's just really impactful and inspiring. So thank you for sharing your story today on the Leverage Podcast.